I never imagined that a simple business trip could turn into the most terrifying night of my life. It began the way so many things do. Ordinary, mundane, almost laughably normal. I had just finished packing my suitcase, double-checking my tickets, and brushing my hair in front of the mirror, when a strange unease settled over me. It wasn't loud or dramatic at first, just a faint whisper in the back of my mind that I ignored, assuming it was pre-flight anxiety. I had flown hundreds of times before, always alone, always careful. Yet, as I closed the door behind me, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was different this time. The drive to the airport was uneventful, the streets unusually empty for a Friday evening. My Uber dropped me off at the terminal entrance, and I walked inside, suitcase rolling quietly behind me. The usual buzz of travelers and flight announcements filled the space, but I couldn't stop glancing over my shoulder. My skin tingled, as though someone or something was watching. I made my way to the check-in counter, the cold fluorescent lights above flickering faintly, adding a subtle sense of unease. The line was long, filled with the usual mixture of impatient travelers, exhausted parents, and business people like me, but the feeling of being slightly off lingered. I shrugged it off as nerves and waited my turn. When I finally reached the counter, the young woman assisting me smiled, but there was something in her eyes that didn't quite match the warmth of her lips. Her gaze lingered too long, and when she handed me my boarding pass, she didn't just slide it across the counter. Instead, she leaned slightly closer and whispered something I couldn't quite hear over the din of the airport. Before I could ask her to repeat it, she stepped back, gave me a curt nod, and moved to the next passenger. Shrugging, I tucked the boarding pass into my purse and headed towards security. That's when I noticed her again. The same young woman, now standing a few feet away, watching me as I removed my shoes and placed my bag on the conveyor belt. Her expression was unreadable, but there was a sense of urgency in her stance, a silent warning that made my chest tighten. Get a grip, I muttered to myself. It's just an airport, but the unease didn't fade. Even after passing through security and finding my gate, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I found a seat near the window, my suitcase beside me, and tried to focus on my phone. Emails, social media, the endless scroll of familiar faces. It usually distracted me enough to calm my nerves. Not tonight. Tonight, every ping, every movement in the terminal made me jump. And then it happened. The flight attendant appeared beside me, smiling politely, holding a small piece of folded paper. She leaned down, whispered something I couldn't quite catch, and pressed the note into my hand. For you, she said softly, almost nervously. Before I could respond, she was gone, swallowed by the crowd moving toward other gates. I unfolded the paper with trembling hands. My eyes scanned the message, and my stomach dropped. Written in red ink, jagged and hurried. Do not get on this plane. For a moment, I laughed nervously. Some kind of prank? Maybe the flight attendant thought it would be funny, or perhaps someone had slipped it into my bag by mistake. I looked around, hoping to catch a glimpse of her, to ask what she meant, but she was nowhere to be found. The terminal seemed unusually quiet now, the hum of the fluorescent lights oddly oppressive. I tucked the note back into my purse, trying to shake off the growing sense of dread. Maybe it was just my imagination. After all, I had a flight to catch. Ignoring it seemed like the only reasonable option. Boarding began, and I took my seat on the plane, trying to focus on the rhythmic hum of passengers finding their places, the soft chatter of children, and the steady footsteps of flight attendants. Yet the note burned in my mind, impossible to forget. As the plane taxied down the runway, I kept glancing out the window, half expecting to see something, anything, that would explain the note. But all I saw was the usual blur of lights and the clouds beginning to darken in the distance. The plane reached cruising altitude, and I tried to settle into my seat, flipping through the in-flight magazine and sipping on water. The cabin crew moved about efficiently, yet there was a tension in the air I couldn't place, a strange stiffness in their smiles, and a rigidity in their movements. Something about them was unnatural. Then the announcements began. The captain's voice came over the intercom, smooth and professional at first, but it gradually adopted a strange tone. The words themselves were normal, flight information, weather updates, but there was an undercurrent, a subtle distortion that made my skin crawl. A chill ran down my spine when I noticed the other passengers. They were all behaving normally, or at least they appeared to be, but their eyes, I couldn't stop looking at them. There was something vacant there, a hollow emptiness that made me question if they were really awake, really aware, or just waiting. I reached into my purse and pulled out the note again. The red ink seemed almost to pulse in the dim cabin light. A silent warning etched into my mind. My rational side fought to dismiss it, but deep down, an instinctive terror was taking hold. Something was very, very wrong. The flight attendant who had given me the note appeared again, walking past the aisle slowly. Her expression was unreadable, her eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made me shiver. I opened my mouth to ask her something, anything, but the words caught in my throat as the hours passed. The flight grew eerily still. The usual sounds of conversation, laughter, and the clinking of service carts faded into a tense silence. Outside the windows, the clouds moved strangely, twisting and contorting in ways that seemed impossible. Occasionally, I caught glimpses of shadows moving in the clouds, fleeting forms that disappeared when I blinked. I tried to convince myself it was just fatigue, just the isolation and monotony of flying late at night. But when I checked my watch, the hands seemed to move backward, then forward, then pause unnaturally. Panic began to rise in my chest. Something was not right, not just with the flight, but with reality itself. I wanted to stand, to demand answers, but fear held me in place. My eyes darted to the other passengers again. They stared straight ahead, expressionless, as if they couldn't see what I could. The note burned in my hand, and I realized with a cold, sinking feeling that it wasn't a prank. Somehow, the flight itself was alive, or cursed. A sudden jolt shook the plane, sending my water spilling across the tray table. The passengers didn't react. The lights flickered. A low hum filled the cabin, vibrating through my bones. And for a terrifying moment, I felt as if the plane itself were breathing. I gripped the armrests, knuckles white, heart hammering. The note was clutched tightly in my hand. And then, I heard it, a whisper, barely audible, like the brush of air past my ear. Turn back. My breath caught. I looked around. No one else seemed to hear it. The cabin was still. The flight attendant passed by once more, and this time, she mouthed the words without speaking. "Do not get on this plane." I tried to respond, to call out, but my voice wouldn't work. My throat was dry, my body frozen. The realization hit me with crushing force. The note had been right. Whatever this flight was, it wasn't ordinary. The hum in the plane grew louder, the shadows in the clouds darker. Outside the window, the world twisted in impossible ways. And I knew that once this plane left the ground fully, there was no turning back. I had made a choice the moment I boarded, and now I would have to face whatever horror awaited at the other end. If I even got there. The note burned in my hand. The warning was clear. The flight was cursed. And as I stared out at the impossible storm forming around us, I realized that nothing would ever be the same again. Nothing would ever be the same again.